So welcome and thank you for joining me for this bonus episode of Optical Illusions for Hands-on Art. This one is called Exploding Shapes. The supplies are very simple. All you really need is a pencil, an eraser might be nice, a straight edge. You could use, I love this little ruler for this if you have a small one, but even a piece of paper that folded to have a straight edge is fine. It doesn't have to be a ruler. And something to color with is nice. I've got colored pencils, I've got crayons, and that's about all you need. Okay, the first thing we're going to do is put a dot somewhere around the middle of our paper. That's going to be our vanishing point. Okay, so we have our vanishing point, and now we want to make shapes that kind of surround that vanishing point, our exploding shapes. So I'm not going to measure here. I'm just going to use this ruler as a straight edge. And I'll make, let's say, a triangle here. I'm going to make some other four-sided figure. I'll make, let's freehand a heart. Let's see, how about right here? Make us a heart. Let's do a star. Now I'm gonna do the star kind of lightly because this is how I know to make a star. And then I'll go over it with my straight edges. And let's see, I'm gonna use this. I have a spool of thread. That'll make a nice perfect circle. Our circle doesn't have to be perfect. I could freehand it just like I did the heart, but since I happen to have thread here, why not? And then I wanna have another layer. I wanna have a couple of shapes that are outside of this circle so that we can see how to work with something like that. There we go. Now, if you have, it'd be really nice to have a marker like this one that has kind of a fat side and a skinny side. If you have a flare pen or even just a black pen, that can work. But since I have this, I'm going to use it. And I'm going to go over all my pencil lines with the thick side of my Sharpie. Now, if you are using a Sharpie, I recommend that you put a newspaper or something under it. I'm okay here because this table, it's okay if I get a mark on it. And also my paper is pretty thick, so it's not gonna bleed through much. But whenever you're using a Sharpie, that's kind of a risk that it'll bleed through. So protect your surface if you need to. Okay, so now I have my thick shapes. And I'm going to erase a few little extra lines that I don't need. And I'm going to color these in. Now, you could use crayons or colored pencils, whatever works for you. I think maybe I will do some markers for the interior. So go ahead and color in your shapes. They can be all the same color or different colors. I think different colors is maybe a little better for this project, but go ahead and do that and we'll meet back when you're done. And the colors are kind of helpful because they'll help us remember how to make our exploding shapes and not make a mistake. So what we're gonna do now is we are going to find the corners and attach them to that vanishing point. So our heart is very close. So I'm just going to go from that end. And if it's a rounded edge like the heart is, you just find the very widest point and we will attach from there. So here we go. I am going to attach from the widest point. And actually, I'm going to switch because I think I can do a good job of this without having to do pencil and marker, but if you want, you can do it as 2 steps. All right, so now from the star, here's a point. Let's attach a point to the center. Notice I'm using my skinny side for this, and we'll attach this point, and we'll do this spot in the middle. Now let's look at our other point. So if I do this point here, I'm going to stop. If I think I'm going to go over yellow, I'm not going to do it. I'm going to stop. Here, I'm going to put it on the vanishing point, go to this tip, and I'll go right until I'm going to hit a color, and then I'm going to stop. And this one, I can't do it without going immediately across color, so I won't go there. Okay, let's do our circle. Remember, we're going to do our widest point on the circle. We'll attach to our vanishing point. This is called 1-point perspective. So the 1 point is right here, and that's where everything's going to appear to explode up from. Kind of like, you know, if you had high-rise buildings and you're a bird looking down on them, they're going to look like they all grew out of this one spot where things get so far away, they vanish. That's why it's called a vanishing point. So no, even this one is a little further back. I can draw a line without going over blue, so I'm going to do it. Okay, let's go on our orange triangle here. Okay, so now I've kind of done my inner circle. Now let's do these 2 shapes that are more outline. And I'm going to do the same thing where I go from this corner to the vanishing point, but I'm going to stop when I hit color. So, boop, I hit orange, I'm done. I'm not going to draw any more. And on this purple, I'll go from this corner to the vanishing point. And as soon as I get to the blue, oh, I stop. And you see, that makes this layer behind these 2 shapes. Let's do it again with this blue shape. But on this outside corner, I'm going to run into that green heart pretty quickly. So I'm going to go just from the point to the green heart, and I'm going to stop. And now these shapes are kind of behind the other shapes. All right, real quick, I'm going to go over these pencil lines because they look conspicuously lighter than the other things I did. So now we have all these shapes, and it really looks nice, and you get more of a explosion shape if there's some color that comes on up. Now I'm going to choose actually colored pencils instead of the markers because I can shade them. So for the yellow star, as I'm far away and the color is darker and more maybe in shadow, I'll be darker. And as I come up, I'm going to go lighter, although on the edges, I think I'll add a little yellow. So as it goes further away, and it'll darken. That would be more in shadow, okay? Now, for my red circle, I'm going to start in the center, and I'm going to make it darker, and I'm going to gradually lighten as I go up toward my circle. This is purple. So purple's behind. I'm going to do this purple area, and I'm going to be careful not to go on these parts that go with blue or orange. Still looking for a good blue pencil. All right, so I'll come up here and kind of gradually fade out as it gets closer. Now notice this is part of the green heart. I went over the line a little, but we'll cover it up. Okay, so these go with the blue shape. You have to kind of look and make sure you're doing the right one. All right, now I've got green. I'm going to go a little along this edge so we separate it from the background. Okay, so we have exploding shapes, a little color to help us see them. Now, one thing I have noticed is it's nice to put a frame around this. It looks better if you finish it off with a frame that kind of shows where the shapes are exploding from. So I'm going to use the bigger ruler for this, and I'm going to kind of put a frame around this vanishing point. And I'm not going to mind too much if I go over a shape. Let's see, actually it might even look good. I don't want to go exactly on that. That'll be weird, so I'm going to go at an angle. And go here. Now when I get to a shape, I'm going to pick up my pencil and not go on top. And I'm going to jump over only to areas that don't have anything. Here we go. So there's our first line. And just kind of come through it over here. And when I get to a shape, boop, I'm going to jump over, get to a line, jumping over, go a little over here. Now let's do this. Jumping over the red. And we'll do this last line here. Okay. Very good. Now I think it would actually look a little better if I made it even thicker so that it was thicker than the lines that went around the shape, so it separates it out. So I'm just going to do one more round exactly kind of next to the other one and make it just the littlest bit fatter. I think we'll like how it looks better if we do that. There you go. There's our shape explosion. If you want to add little curlicues and little confetti that exploded, you can. If you want to color all this background black to have it explode out, that would look nice. You can decorate this however you like. And I hope you enjoyed this lesson, and go and have an art-filled week.